Got it.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Here we are with CrossFit Dwell. So, ladies, I appreciate both of you making some time today to chat. Why don't you give everybody a little introduction?
Sure. Go ahead. Well, I'm Lauren, and this is Natalie. We are a mother-daughter team of gym owners. Um, I got into CrossFit almost 10 years ago because of my dad. And then she got into it a few years after that. Um, and we got into coaching, and eventually that led into basically taking over a gym, and turning it into our own gym. So that's
Okay.
the short and sweet.
Which is incredible and awesome. Like I said, I've been around for a while. I'm sure there's got to be, I'm sure, another mother, daughter, or father, son, or something combo out there, but they don't cross my path too personally. So it'd be really cool. We're, I guess rewinding the clock a bit, when the opportunity to purchase the gym that you were attending crossed your path, what were both of you doing occupational wise at that time, and how did that factor into the consideration to take on a monster responsibility?
An understatement.
Understatement, yes, really. Oh boy, I was a preschool teacher at the moment.
Oh, really?
I was. Yes.
Are you still?
No,
How
I'm
long did
not.
you do that?
Just a few years. It was at our church, and I was at that time teaching the 3-year-olds. But I also knew that I was getting ready to transition out of that. I knew that that was not a long-term solution for me. I enjoyed it. I loved my children.
I was gonna say, I bet it sounds difficult to me. I've got a 3.5-year-old, and every time, like when I pick up my daughter, I almost apologize to the teacher. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're just so
You're
exhausted.
doing great.
There's 8 kids in here, whatever it is.
Yeah, just imagine 12 of that.
I mean, I can't, honestly.
It's awesome. They are amazing. And I only had them from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. So it wasn't a full day. It was just a half day preschool. And it was a lot of fun. But at that time, I'd been widowed about a year by the end of that school year.
Mm,
And I knew that I needed to transition out of that into something else. So we knew at the time that the gym owner, his interest had been declining in the gym. And so Lauren had mentioned to him, before you think about selling it or closing it, talk to us first, because she had been the head coach at that gym for some time. I'd been coaching a couple of classes. Well,
okay.
the 5:30 a.m. class for a long time. But she was the head coach. So
And Lauren, was that your full-time gig at the time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, so that played well, if you were
Yes.
gonna work
Yeah.
into that. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So do you have any sense of why did the previous owner have declining interest? I mean, gyms are hard. I know that, but just curiosity.
Honestly, I think COVID.
Yeah.
Sure.
COVID.
Yeah.
Burnout that came from
Yeah.
that.
And he approached us in 2022, prior to COVID.
In 2021.
2020. Oh, yeah, 20,
Yeah.
2022.
We started in 2022. So it was
Yes.
the end of
Yeah.
2021 that I first talked to him about
Oh, yeah.
coming to us first.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So COVID had been a hard hit on every gym, I think.
Hmm.
And I think he was just tired
Yeah,
of it. So
understandably, understandably. So
we,
with you, was that his full-time gig, or was he about to go
Mhm.
back into something? Oh, okay, interesting. He's gonna let that sail off into the sunset, huh?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so that happens, and he sticks to his word, I guess, and gives you a heads up of like, hey, I'm actually thinking about getting rid
Mhm.
of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to him in December, and then in April, he came to me and said, were you serious? Basically. And so then there was a lot of back and forth, and is this something we actually are going to do?
Right. Yeah, what I mean, walk me through that, because I'm sure we also have a lot of people, this happens not infrequently, and
Mhm.
for whatever reason, burnout, they've had it
Yeah.
for 15 years or whatever. And
Mhm.
it's not uncommon for a head coach, trainer, somebody close to that community to be approached as to like, hey, would you like to take over the reins? And I'm
Right.
sure there can be a wide range of like debriefs or information that's actually given to help the new party make an informed decision. So I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
what did you receive for information? Was it accurate and adequate? And what was that process like for you?
Honestly,
Did you say, screw it, let's buy it?
yeah, no, we went back and forth. We prayed a lot.
Mhm.
We talked to several people about it. I'll be honest, my father's reaction was, "You're making the biggest mistake of your life."
Gotcha. Yep.
um, but we had a lot of counsel about it. We didn't just go into it.
And a lot of people were very encouraging
Mm-hmm.
to give it a shot.
Yeah.
We ended up doing, on the more, I guess, technical side, we didn't purchase his business per se.
Okay.
So we ended up doing an asset purchase agreement, which basically let us buy the equipment and the membership list.
I
Um,
see.
and then we became our own LLC and affiliation and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. At the time that you acquired it, with regards to how many members there were, what the member rate was, what the lease of the facility was, and all that stuff, was it a profitable business? Was it a break-even business, or did you have work to do?
We had work to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So, I mean,
Yeah.
hence your father's reaction.
Yes. Yes.
You're
Yes.
buying an asset that's on the wrong side of the balance sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a small thing.
Mm-mm.
Right? I mean, quite frankly, that's, I don't know what everyone wants to say, anywhere from like bold and audacious to like
Foolish.
unhinged and crazy, right?
Yeah.
And anywhere in that spectrum. What made you sign your names on the dotted line to something that, in financially speaking, was underwater?
Mhm.
Several things. One was the community of people at this place
Yeah.
that we had worked with, that we didn't want them to lose the traction that they had gained with their fitness. It really was, and still is, a very special place in that regard. Feel like, through the time that she of course coached more classes than I did, but I just felt like these people were worth
Mm,
doing this for.
Mhm.
Also, it was a turning point in my life, and every time I thought about not doing it, I thought that there would be more regret not trying it
okay.
than trying it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Like, what would have happened if I didn't do it more than if I do it? So it hasn't been easy for sure. But the people are still amazing.
Well, we had at that point, like I had been coaching since about 2017. And a lot of the people that were still there at that time, like when this transition was happening, had been there since I think 2018 or 2019. So I had known them for a long time.
mm,
And every time we talked about the like possibility of like, okay, what if we don't do this? Where do we go? And where do they go? And I was just imagining them just like a nebulous cloud going out into the world,
right. Right.
and just losing contact with all of them. And
Unacceptable.
yeah, we
Yeah.
were just like, we can't let them go. We love them.
Well, hey, and fair enough. You know, did did you have some sort of a plan to get did you have, I guess, a plan or vision as to, well, how am I trying to say this? The gym in the state that you purchased it in,
Mhm.
was it in a state that you were happy and content with, or did you see that it needed to go somewhere that the previous owner hadn't taken it?
Well, I believe the previous owner, he had it for 10 years and he did well with it for 10, and up until COVID, I think he was really pushing it, forward. Honestly, Pat, we were very inexperienced. And
Fair enough.
we
Coaching and business are different things.
two different things.
100%.
And it is a challenge, and it hasn't gone exactly the way we dreamed it would in the beginning. But I feel like we're on the right course.
And we've helped a lot of people in the past 2.5 years that we wouldn't have ever met otherwise.
It's been about 2.5 years since you took ownership. Give us, give the audience, if you will, some examples, because I think you hit on something which is so true, and I don't think enough people say it out loud. But I think there is I don't know if saying a whole lot is fair, but it does exist that some people are like, I love working out, I love CrossFit, I should own a gym.
Right.
And it's like, you might love CrossFit and love working out. Owning a gym is a different beast.
Whole different thing.
So
yes.
maybe you alluded to it, but for the people who have this going on in their head, just give us some real talk. What are the differences, both pros and cons? Because there's two sides of everything.
Yeah. The first thought that I have, I mean, it could go a lot of different ways. This would not be possible without the coaches that we have. When we started, we had one other coach, so we were still coaching a lot. We still are. But we had one other coach who was on board with us, and she's amazing. And then this past summer, we added another coach who has helped a lot with some of the midday classes and on ramps and things like that. I think for me at the beginning, this did not last long, but I was like, I can totally go and do classes every single day. It'll be fine. You can't.
Right, and not burn out.
Yeah, you cannot do that. And it didn't last long. Tiffany is our other coach who kind of onboarded with us. And right at the beginning, she was like, let me help you guys. And let me help you with cleaning the gym, because you don't have time for that. So having both of them, we wouldn't be doing this, or at least not very well. Yeah.
100%.
The other aspect that I didn't think about is when people leave and how hard it hits, even though it's not usually a personal reason that they leave. It's not against us, and it's not against the gym. It's they've moved, or
life happens.
Life happens. And you have poured a lot into that time with them, and you want to see them to continue to succeed. And if they're there every day, you actually have time with them 3, 4, 5 times a week. It just depends on their schedule. So you see them more often than you see a lot of people in your life. And so when they have to leave, it hurts a little bit. It hurts your heart.
Understandably. Well, the mere fact that you say that without ever having walked into the walls of your facility lends me to believe that you probably have a really cool community there and you're doing things right. Honestly, like that, it's simple as that is. If you had
they're pretty cool.
If you had to, you guys are located out in Georgia, right?
Yes.
If you had to describe your community, your clientele, is it younger? Is it older? Is it mixed? Is everybody interested in, going to the games, or no one could care less? What do you just describe to me CrossFit Dwell?
The demographic is mostly my age, I'm 55.
Yeah.
So I would say, 40s and 50s, a few above, and a few, Lauren is just almost 30.
Mhm.
So, and then we have a couple of younger people as well. Nobody's really interested in the games. It's really more what we've really focused on is scaling the workouts appropriately so that everybody can do it and do it on the long term. And that's, I mean, we've gotten that from you, honestly, listening to your podcast since way back when. And there are some that are more advanced and can do the more advanced moves, but a lot of people are just in there to get fit and just move,
Be good at life.
We are not really the competitive gym. There are some in our area that are much more fire breathing competition kind of focus. But most of our people are just there to get fit. They just want to get stronger. They want to feel healthy. They want to be more energetic. They come in and maybe want to lose some weight or whatever.
And how have you found that people find out about you and new people walk in the door?
Well,
website, walking by, referrals.
We're in a retail space.
Okay.
So we're tucked in the back a little bit, but I recently, in the past couple of years, the retail area that we're in, the complex that we're in, has filled up. It was empty for a very long time. So there's a lot more drive-bys than there used to be.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think most of ours honestly come from Google searches, though.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. And do you have enough space where you're at, or is space tight?
We've got it's a 3-suite area.
Okay.
So it's about 3,600 square feet.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a nice size.
Yeah.
Well, out of curiosity, you guys are using Linchpin now. What, you've got a lot on your plate. But at the same time, an extra expense each month is an extra expense. What made you consider, reaching out for the programming help or option, whatnot?
Yeah. So I did the programming I think I took it over in 2020 with the other owner. And I was trying to think earlier. I don't remember when I caught on to your podcast and your programming. Like, I was trying to think back, and I feel like it's just always been in my head. Like, I've always been aware of it. I don't think that's true, but
right.
But the way that you programmed and the messaging that you put out on your podcast was always in my head as I was programming. So I was trying to emulate how you did it as best as I could. And I'll go back and look at, the workouts that I put in 2020, and I'm like, she didn't know what she was doing very well.
I have workouts like that as well.
But I do feel like it got better. So I really enjoyed programming. And I would we would do the Linchpin tests. I'd pull from main site. I would, create my own workouts and try to fit it together. But as you have talked about, it takes a lot of time and brain power. So
yeah,
I've up until I think May or June of this year, I was still doing it. But I knew that it was not my best anymore. Like, it was getting harder for me to sit down and focus on it, because I was like, I've got to be doing these other things for the business. And so finally, for a few months, we decided to try the CAP programming because it's included with the affiliate fee. And it was fine. There were a few things, like I would tweak some things that it could feel a little bit repetitive with. And we used it for a couple months, and it just didn't feel like the best fit for our people. So then it's like, okay, we've thought about Linchpin for a long time. I actually emailed you a couple years ago before we had bikes, because I had a question about what happens if we don't have bikes.
Okay. Awesome.
And it wasn't the right time. And so finally, after we used CAP for a couple months, it was like, Mom actually suggested, let's give this a try. we did the 30-day trial, and now here we are.
Yeah.
And it's been really good.
Yeah.
Our people have been really enjoying it, or hating it.
Hating it,
but
enjoying it.
enjoying it.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm very glad to hear. That's funny, 'cause I talk to affiliate owners every now and then, and I never try to push on anybody. I'm not a good businessman that way, but I usually shoot people like, you might have a revolt, honestly.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, like if you've got a, you know, it's a big world up there. You're
Yeah.
free to do whatever you want to do, right? And
Yeah.
so
I
if your
do
members-
think,
if your members in your community are, we got to lift heavy every day,
right.
you could
Yeah.
have a revolt. If your members are going to be so upset that you're making them run and they don't see value in it, you're gonna, you're like, but like we do what we think works, and we don't
Yeah.
really care whether they want to do it, but that might be tough for some environments.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to how it was for you guys.
Yeah. So I actually, when I was programming and when I like really felt like I had a good amount of brain space for it, I mean, I used the same ideology. Like we would lift heavy once or twice a week. We did runs, like I'd program a 5K every now and then.
Good for you.
So, I tried to be as aware as possible to not like bias it towards just what I wanted to do. Like if I had my way, I would never program Fran again, but I would program
Amen.
it every now and then. So I tried to be mindful of that. And so I don't think it was a huge adjustment for them, because we were already like, when we lifted heavy, that was all we did on that day.
God, oh, very cool. Good for you.
So
Yeah.
And how is your community taken to the whole scaling and modifying things, right? Because I mean, if L-sit rope climbs get programmed, that's a very small percentage of people that are like, okay, cool. How many? Like,
right.
So
Right.
how have you dealt with modifying and scaling, and how's that vibe at Dwell?
Oh, they will chuckle when they see it on the board. Right.
Like, no way.
We're not doing that. But
What's the other option?
Yeah, but we always have offered options. So, rope climbing has been in it. Even running the 5K, we'll scale that for time or whatever. So it has just been a part of the culture. We've always wanted to make sure that they are doing their movements well before they even add any weight to a barbell. So it's already part of the culture.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
It's still, they expect it, and they are fine with most people. Every once in a while, you'll have somebody who just thinks I need to do an RX all the time, but it's very rare in our gym.
At this point, it's rare.
Yeah.
Well, you two are in charge of the culture.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm 55. I'm not RXing much. It's I'm not going to do what my 30-year-old daughter is going to do.
Cool, right? To understand that you're both showing up to the same class, same gross movement patterns, same, relative difficulty, whatever you got going on, and you get the same benefit. Like it's
exactly.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
What have you two found, or how do you do business at Dwell when you've got a new person that comes in? Like, how do you get them ready to join a class?
Yeah. We have a couple options. So we always start with just meeting with them and talking, because we want to make sure that we understand what they are looking for, and is it a good fit? We have a lot of options, but we want to make sure that they're a good fit and we're going to be the best help that we can be to them. So if someone is aiming to get into group classes, like they want the CrossFit style workout, everybody starts with an on-ramp, and that's going to be a one-on-one, most likely with either one of us or the other coaches. And it's 3 sessions typically, unless they feel like they need more help, but it'll go over the kind of most common movements that you'll see in a CrossFit class. So like the squats and presses and pull-ups, and here's how we scale it. Like, here's the movement. We're not expecting you to do it yet. And then they'll go through, it's about 90 days total. So they'll have those on-ramp sessions, they'll get into group classes, and then we'll do a retest session about halfway through their first 90 days.
Nice.
To see the progress. So we'll retest one of their first workouts.
Okay.
And the other option is you can just do PT. So if CrossFit feels like, ooh, I'm not ready for that. We'll do
Right.
just one. So it's a lot more, you can tailor it a lot easier. Everything is scalable, but it's more customizable.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And how do you guys and how does Dwell tackle the topic of nutrition, or do you leave that? Does it like
Mm.
bad? Is it if they come up and ask you? Do you do challenges? I mean, what have you found works?
We talk about it. We do a lot of emails about it. We actually have partnered with another company to run some challenges for
Okay.
us.
They have actual dietitians on their team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Georgia, you're not allowed to give nutrition. Like we can say eat more protein because that's a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't write out meal plans or
Gotcha.
be very specific. They're very
Interesting when some states do that and some states don't.
yeah,
It's so
yeah,
bizarre. Okay, but
it
yeah,
is. It's
continue.
very
Okay, that's
strict.
how Georgia
Yeah.
does business.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, before we partnered with this company, we would refer people to EC Simkowski's
Mm-hmm.
800-gram challenge a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, I follow her 800-gram challenge.
Yeah, it
So
works great.
yeah, it's perfect for me. So that's how we deal with it. We do talk about it being a foundational thing. And so in that on-ramp or in the information meeting that we talk to them and ask them their goals, we'll tell them that nutrition is foundational and that we would suggest meeting with this company for a consult to see if they would be willing, if they could help.
Yeah, it's a good fit.
Yeah, we don't honestly get a lot of buy-in with the nutrition side.
It's hard.
It's very
Nutrition
hard.
is hard.
Nutrition's hard.
So hard. It's
It
so, I
is.
mean, it's not. It can be hard to get people to work out. It's way hard to get them to eat well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way harder. I mean,
Yes.
and I mean, I'm actually guilty with that as well.
Me too.
I've got really good discipline. Like I don't miss a lot of workouts, but I mess up my nutrition more than I mess up my workouts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
again, it's a consistent work in progress.
It is.
Now
Well,
that
there's
the holidays coming.
so much emotion tied up in food. There's, the family, everybody's eating out together or whatever. And it's hard. It's a hard thing to change.
Yep. We at my daughter's little school, they did their like little Christmas parties. They were like all the 3.5-year-olds got together and like sang a few songs. It was of course
Yeah.
cool. And then on the way out, they had like a couple of dessert trays for the parents. I didn't want to be rude, so I grabbed an M&M cookie. It was like
That's right. It's
size,
polite.
like this huge. It was like,
That's right.
I could have walked by it, but I didn't. It called my
Yeah.
name. I knew that I knew I didn't need it, but it's just, and it was amazing. It's just it's a constant struggle. So that makes sense. I'm curious, before we wrap up here, is there anything that I absolutely should have asked you about that I didn't, that like you are looking for, want to talk about or want to let people know about?
Do you? I don't know. That's a good question. Do you have anything?
No, I was just going to ask you, like, you two in closing, if you had any, lessons learned or looking back on it, things that you wish you had known as an early gym owner that you've learned over the course of the last couple of years, just to kind of share with people.
Go ahead. I have two things that just popped into my head. One of them is, this is not a fun thing, but at the beginning when we were getting everything set up, and you need to get your waivers and membership agreements and all that put together, get a lawyer to do that. There's actually the guy that we use, his company is called Gym Lawyers, and he does this specifically for micro gyms. And it was a huge help because we would have missed a lot of things with that.
Interesting. That's great advice. You don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, it's serious stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we have had a mentor for the past couple of years who has helped us a lot with creating the systems that you don't know you need on the back end of business. And what's the most effective way to onboard people or to reach out to people,
retain people,
all of that. So that has been very helpful. Because
Sure.
we're not
That's what
business
no one
people.
thinks about.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're, you know, they're giving us all these tips that we're like, I never would have thought about it. I never would have known. We would have just been
everything from how
floating.
to clean the gym to how to open the gym, how to close the gym,
Oh,
how
wow.
how to run a class, how to hire. I mean, it really is every bit running it like a business rather than a hobby.
Right.
And you
Smart.
really do have to take it that way.
Which more people should do, you know, like you, and I think you could do both at the same time, right? Because people think the word business sounds very cold and
right.
Well, no. You can care about your members and want the best for them and love them like family and provide this incredible service. But if you don't run a good business and the doors close, well, what does it matter? Like you have to do both. So no, I think that's very smart. 100% very smart.
Yeah.
Did you have anything?
Yeah. I think that's
Let
it.
people know, you know, if they're traveling around, and I just said Georgia, but you know, where are you located? How can they find you on social media, your website? You know, give us all the info.
We're in Kennesaw, Georgia. So it's northwest of Atlanta. And it's, I don't know, it's about 30, 40 minutes away from Atlanta.
Okay.
So CrossFitDwell.com is the website, and then at CrossFit Dwell on Facebook and Instagram. We're not on Twitter.
Not on Twitter. We're not on TikTok.
We're not on TikTok.
I think you're making good decisions there. Well, that's awesome. Lauren, Natalie, 100% appreciate you sharing your story, giving me your time today. Of course, I don't take it lightly that you chose to allow me to play a small role in your community. That's amazing. So thank you for that, and keep up the good work. And if I find myself just north of Atlanta, I will certainly let you know.
Come on.
Yes, please. And Pat, thank you for what you do. Honestly, you have fed us so much through the podcast, and now through the programming. I'm really grateful. We're grateful
My
for
pleasure.
you.
No, seriously, I mean, genuinely my pleasure. So have yourself a good holiday and a good New
You
Year.
too. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.